Welcome to episode 27 of the Teaming Up podcast. In this episode, our very own Paulyn Ocampo will team up with Lilie Malaeb. The duo snacks on cookies while discussing everything you need to know about cookies. You know, those internet tokens that help advertisers and marketers reach you. If you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed to Teaming Up and leave us a review if you like what you're hearing. Now, Paulyn, take it away.
Hey, Lilie.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to be talking about cookies, the digital ones and the real ones.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we've got a pack of Crumbl cookies right here, right in front of us to partake in as we have our discussion. Talking about cookies just gave us an excuse to go to Crumbl cookies, really, is what this is about. I picked up a little variety pack for us.
They look delicious.
Should we have a little bite before we start the episode?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Do you have a flavor preference?
Maybe chocolate.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you're like me. I'm going to go off the mic, Tony. I like to cut them into pieces so I can sample like a bunch of different ones.
Yes, of course.
Would you like me to do that for you?
Sure. That would be great.
Or if you want the whole cookie, that's fine too.
Oh my gosh, no, we can share. There's plenty to go around. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I'm going to cut it into a little quarter. Is that okay with you?
That works for
and if you want
me.
more, you can absolutely have more.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then that way we can try like a bunch of different ones. So I got like, this one's a chocolate with chocolate frosting. This one is like their signature with like the pink sugar cookie with like the frosting. This is a regular chocolate chip, and this one's a monster. It's like got M&Ms and like toffee bits and stuff.
Thank you so much.
So.
That looks incredible.
Yeah. Is it okay that I touched it?
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. All right. I'm going in for a little bite.
Yeah, cheers.
I'm a chocolate chip girl. Delightful.
Amazing as always.
Crumbl cookies sponsor us. All right. I'm finished chewing.
Do you need some water?
Good. All right, you ready to dig into the digital kinds of cookies now?
I am so ready.
Okay, so I think most people are familiar with first-party cookies. Mm-hmm. That's the bit of code that's specific to you and your device and is used to identify you as you move throughout the internet. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, if you visit a website, the first-party cookie will save your language preference and your username when you visit a website so that you don't have to input that information every time you go back to that website. Mm-hmm. But what we're talking about today are third-party cookies. So can you tell us the difference between first-party cookies and third-party cookies to start?
Sure, absolutely. So as you mentioned, first-party cookies belong to the actual website that you're visiting, and they track user information like your login credentials, your language settings, and things that you might have put in your shopping carts, which really helps with the user experience and authentication as well. But third-party cookies, on the other hand, are placed by other third-party organizations, like an advertising agency, through whatever platforms they're using to track a user's behavior. And they're largely used for more effective marketing efforts. So, think of when you see an ad for something that you had just been looking at on another browser days prior, and you just wonder, like, how the heck did they know that I was looking at that? Who's listening to me? Like, who is my FBI agent behind the screen? But rest assured, it's no FBI agent. It's just a third-party cookie.
I know. I feel like we've all come across those kinds of ads at one point where you feel like somebody listening to my phone conversation or like following me somewhere to know that I'm interested in this thing. Mm-hmm. So can you just elaborate a little bit more about how advertisers and marketers use those kinds of cookies?
Sure. So the information that third-party cookies collect about you gives advertisers a more holistic understanding of your online behavior, as well as differences between new and returning users. So this really allows us to tailor marketing efforts to you as an individual based on things like your location and your interests. So as an example, let's say that, you visit Sunglass Hut's website and you're looking at a pair of sunglasses that you're interested in. So that website's first-party cookie is going to track your user preferences and which items you've added to your cart. So that way it can give you a more personalized shopping experience that's tailored to your taste and suggest other things on their site that you may be interested in. But on top of that, the Sunglass Hut website probably also has some sort of third-party cookies placed on it that are also tracking which specific sunglasses you're interested in, as well as your online activity across multiple other websites. So then when you're later browsing on another website that shows advertisements, you'll most likely be served a Sunglass Hut ad for those sunglasses that you had been looking at. So obviously third-party cookies are really effective in driving performance since it lets us reach people who have already expressed interest in a product or service wherever they are.
Yeah, so it sounds like third-party cookies right now are pretty essential in terms of how marketers are using advertising now, and specifically with retargeting, like you were just talking about. So I could see how a lot of them will be freaking out about not being able to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit of the impact of what a post third-party cookie life looks like for advertisers?
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing is that advertisers aren't going to have as thorough of an understanding of their audiences without third-party cookies, which will obviously have a huge impact on the granularity and the effectiveness of their ad strategies and campaigns. And in turn, there would be a big potential for wasted media spend. But also there would be an impact on overall performance measurement and data analytics since advertisers really rely on the third-party cookie data to understand the impact of their marketing campaigns. And then we would also lose the ability to track most of our conversions. So retargeting tactics, which are usually a huge performance driver, will also be impacted since it'll definitely be more challenging to track someone across the web.
Yeah. So is there anything marketers and advertisers should be doing to help mitigate the coming impact to them?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the question of the times. I think the biggest misconception of cookies going away is that marketers are suddenly going to have absolutely no data to, fuel their marketing efforts. But the reality is that there are actually several different solutions that will help. And one of the biggest things is going to be first-party data collection, and that's going to be whether you're collecting that data yourself or relying on some other platform to do so. Advertisers are also going to really need to lean into consent-based or permission marketing, which just means that you're targeting people that have actually given you express consent to do so. So an example of that would be, when a brand asks you for permission to send you text messages, but also have to give you a really easy way to opt out. And obviously, since those people, again, have already given you permission to target them, you have a higher chance of earning leads or successfully getting them to convert. But then there are also other things, like contextual strategies, customer relationship management tools, device fingerprinting, and IP address tracking that are going to be important for marketers to take into consideration.
So from what I know, and it's very little, about first-party data collection, it can be pretty resource intense to set that up because you've got to have IT involved. You've got to have legal involved.
Absolutely.
And if you're storing people's personal data on your servers, there's responsibility that comes with that in terms of safety and making sure you've got the right protections in place so that data doesn't get hacked. So that sounds like a lot in terms of, having the right people and the budget to do that sort of thing.
Definitely.
So, for smaller businesses where it may not be as feasible for them to do all of that because of resource constraint, are there other solutions that they can be thinking through when it comes to first-party data collection?
Absolutely. And that's a great point that you bring up. I think at the very minimum, agencies and brands, like you said, need to have the right people included in the conversations around privacy-safe data collection and also to just ensure that you're in compliance with all the privacy laws because there's a lot of them. And And all businesses should definitely at least have a privacy policy on their website that explicitly talks about the kind of data they're collecting and how and why they're using it. And again, it's also important that users are given a way to either opt out completely or customize the cookies that are used on your website. However, I would absolutely suggest that agencies really lean on data collection and management partners to help mitigate the impact of cookies going away. At Lewis Media, we've partnered with and integrated several of these platforms to ensure that we're still reaching our audiences. And luckily, there's a bunch of reliable consumer data tools and data management platforms that agencies can invest in as a solution. So platforms like Google Analytics and LiveRamp collect user data in a privacy-safe manner and then provide curated audience segments that marketers can use in their targeting.
And it's affordable for brands.
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to touch on something you said earlier about the biggest misconception out there right now is that there's going to be no data available when third-party cookies go away.
Right.
I think from what I've read, again, my knowledge in this area is limited to what I've read online, but I've read that Google itself has also stated that there will be some data available still via what it's calling the privacy sandbox. Do you know, can you touch a little bit on that for us?
Yeah, definitely. I would just like to add a disclaimer that Google's privacy sandbox is still very much in beta, very much a work in progress. So, of course, agencies just need to make sure that they're doing their due diligence and properly researching any platforms that they might be interested in, as well as, reading reviews around those platforms as well. But simply put, the privacy sandbox is essentially privacy-safe data collection that stays within a user's browser and isn't shared with any websites or advertisers. So an example would be, let's say you visit some gym-related websites for equipment or workout gear, and Google will then collect this data from your browsing history and categorize you into a gym enthusiast audience segment that advertisers can then use in their campaigns. So in that sense, advertisers are still able to target and then retarget their audiences to some degree without having to collect or use their personal data. So in theory, it's a great solution to mitigate the effects of cookie deprecation on retargeting tactics as well, since it would allow marketers to re-engage with visitors that might have abandoned shopping carts.
So it sounds like Google is going to take care of a little bit of that sort of like, you can call it persona building, but they're going to create audiences for advertisers based on the interests that they have. And so advertisers will be able to target people by the interest, but not to as granular a level. So there's still some detailed targeting available to advertisers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost kind of like you're going after the idea of your audience
Right.
and not your actual audience.
I love that.
But of course, there's also a ton of other solutions as well, some less privacy invasive solutions that are being refined every day through different software that really take the attention off of third-party cookies and then onto first-party cookies. So for instance, there's server-side tagging through different software partners like Adobe or AdSwerve, in addition to, data collection through Google's privacy sandbox.
And for those out there like me who don't know what this is, what is server-side tagging?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. And talking about server-side tagging could really be a podcast in and of itself. But to put it simply, rather than tracking tags being placed on a user's browsers, the tags are instead placed on the actual server of whatever website that you're visiting. And that server then essentially makes a request to the third-party services like Google Analytics to convert the third-party tags into first-party data requests. So then the third-party service would send the data back to the website server, and then boom, you have the data you need without having to rely on third-party cookies.
It's like I'm going to make this analogy, and I'm not sure if it's accurate, but it sounds like money laundering a little bit. Like you're sort of like
Kind
washing
of.
the data.
Yeah.
You're just like scrubbing it, but you're still getting like the information that you need.
I might dabble in cleaning some money now and then. That's a great analogy.
Well, thank you so much, Lilie. I think you've given us
course.
a lot to consider here today as far as getting ourselves ready for the end of third-party cookies in Chrome. I appreciate you coming and sharing your insights with us.
I appreciate you.
It sounds like the biggest takeaway here is that if there's anything people are taking away, it's that there's still lots of tools out there that are available for marketers to continue to reach their target audiences, even with the disappearance of third-party cookies.
Yep.
So we'll just continue to keep an eye on things as they unfold.
Absolutely.
And just want to thank you again for coming over and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me and for the delicious cookies.
Yeah, I think now that we're done, we can have more of them.
I'm going to go gobble them right up.
All right. So my go-to is chocolate chip. I'm like a diehard chocolate chip fan. I'm a classic girl, right?
I too, of course.
And I've had the Crumbl, like their pink sugar. I think that's like their signature cookie because they have it every time.
Oh.
And that's also really delicious with like the fluffy pink frosting on top.
Yeah, they're so good. We got a Christmas box at our office, and they had like a pink cookie that looked like that with little candy canes on top. It was
cute.
peppermint, and it was so good.
So
that might take the
delicious.
cake for me.
How was the chocolate one that you tried earlier?
So good. So
I think
rich.
it's calling my name. I think that's the one I'm going to go for next.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm going to be dreaming about the chocolate cookie. It's delicious.
Thanks for listening to the Teaming Up podcast. Teaming Up is brought to you by the Hodges Partnership, a strategic communications agency that specializes in storytelling through public relations, media relations, content marketing, and social media. The Teaming Up podcast is a Happy Committee production. Episodes are released monthly. Subscribe on your favorite podcast service so you never miss an episode.